In February 1858, an illiterate 14-year-old girl with chronic asthma identified, in her own dialect, a Catholic doctrine that had been formally defined just 4 years earlier. The local priest didn't believe her. The imperial prosecutor interrogated her for hours. She never changed her story. Her name was Bernadette Soubirous. This is where she said the lady appeared. In 1844, the Soubirous family operated a local mill, but a series of failures forced them into a state of absolute poverty that dictated the rest of Bernadette's childhood. By 1858, they had been evicted from every habitable home in town, eventually finding shelter in the cachot, a 16-square-meter former prison cell. The entire family of 9 lived inside these dank stone walls. Bernadette was small for her age, suffering from stunted growth and chronic asthma. She had never been to school, could not read or write French, and spoke only the Bigordan dialect. This lack of education and total social isolation made her the least likely person in the Pyrenees to participate in a complex theological debate or to ignite a movement that would eventually span the globe. The events unfolded over 18 encounters between February and July of 1858. It began during a routine trip to gather firewood near a rocky outcrop known as Massabielle. As word spread and crowds grew, the figure Bernadette described issued a series of commands: a call for penance, a request for a chapel, and a strange instruction to wash in a muddy spring that Bernadette had to unearth with her bare hands. On March 25th, Bernadette asked the figure for its name 4 times. The answer finally came in the local dialect: Que soy era Immaculate Conception. I am the Immaculate Conception. This specific phrase is the detail that researchers find most difficult to explain. Pope Pius IX had defined that specific dogma in Rome just 4 years earlier. There is no record of the term reaching the illiterate peasants of the Pyrenees before Bernadette uttered it at the grotto. The fact that a girl who had never attended a catechism class used such precise, high-level theological language forced the local authorities to move past their initial dismissals. Institutional resistance was immediate. Imperial prosecutor Vital Dutour and police commissioner Jacomet conducted hours of interrogations, using every legal lever available to find a flaw in the girl's testimony. The hostility extended to the local government and the church. Mayor Lacadet attempted to close the grotto, while Bishop Lawrence of Tarbes remained openly skeptical of the visions occurring in his diocese. Despite this, the reports of healings continued. In 1858, a commission of doctors and theologians was convened to apply a rigorous standard of evidence to every claim coming out of the town. On January 18, 1862, after 4 years of investigation, Bishop Lawrence issued a formal decree. He recognized the apparitions as authentic and declared 7 local medical recoveries to be definitively miraculous. This decree provided the legal and theological foundation for the shrine, moving the phenomenon from a matter of local curiosity to a point of official Catholic record. As Lourdes grew into a major pilgrimage site, Bernadette withdrew. In 1866, she left the Pyrenees forever to join the Sisters of Charity in Nevers, seeking a life of obscurity. Her time in the convent was marked by severe bone tuberculosis. She died in 1879 at the age of 35, her life ending just as the first massive basilicas were being completed at the site of her visions. Her legacy took a final physical turn after her death. During the process for her sainthood, her body was found to be physically incorrupt. It remains on display today in a glass reliquary in Nevers. The Vatican issued her final verdict on her life in the early 20th century. Pope Pius XI beatified her in 1925 and performed her formal canonization in 1933. Bernadette Soubirous lived a life defined by physical pain and poverty, yet she left behind a global institution that continues to function over a century after her death. The physical landscape of Lourdes was completely reshaped to accommodate the millions of pilgrims. The first major structure, the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception, was consecrated in 1876. This was followed by the Rosary Basilica in 1899, and eventually the massive Basilica of St. Pius X, a colossal underground space capable of holding 25,000 people at once. To manage the thousands of reports of spontaneous cures, the Church established the Medical Bureau in 1883. This office exists to apply scientific scrutiny to every claim of healing before the Church even considers the possibility of a miracle. The scale of the modern operation is immense. Every year, 80,000 sick pilgrims arrive for assisted visits, often supported by teams of specialized nurses and volunteers. Out of approximately 7,500 claims submitted to the Bureau since its inception, only 72 have survived the decades-long vetting process required for official recognition as a miracle. What began as the private experience of one teenager has become a medically monitored global institution, one that invites rather than avoids scientific investigation. How does the Catholic Church determine whether a healing is genuinely miraculous, and what would it take to convince a neutral observer? In our next episode, we examine the Medical Bureau's methods and the specific criteria used to judge every case in this series.